That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about The People's Joker, the directorial debut of Vera Drew, which premiered at the 2022 Toronto International Film Festival, where it was treated to only one screening as per a stipulation by Warner Brothers, which we can get into. It is finally being released courtesy of Altered Innocence on April 5th, 2024.
You said directorial debut? Mm-hmm. Okay. What is this movie about? An aspiring clown grappling with her gender identity combats a fascistic caped crusader. What's your pull quote?
Rarely has parody been used so effectively as the anarchic, subversive parallel universe explored in Vera Drew's Gonzo pastiche, both an homage to the DC comic universe as well as a rebuke of their heteropatriarchy.
Mine. The People's Joker is a bold, subversive fever dream. Watch it while you can. So I'm very surprised we were able to watch this because this movie, there is a lot of DC intellectual property thrown in here. Batman, Joker, all the Batman villains.
All of the Batman villains.
We even get
most of them. But...
like the action figures because it's a mix of like live action, puppetry, animation. Yeah, lots of references to the DC universe. I was very surprised that...
Well, as the poster says, it's called a fair use film. And if you read about copyright and parody laws, if there's considered transformative effect on the material, more often than not, that can be allowed. In the letter that Warner Brothers sent to the film festival and the filmmakers before the premiere, supposedly allowing them one night only, basically, was not a cease and desist letter.
Oh. Well, the opening of this film does try to explain that it is a parody and that the use of the characters, blah, blah, blah. So I'm hoping that they were able to get around this so that this film is available for viewing to the public.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's ramping up to play in, 70 plus venues?
So the story, it's a strange bird, but basically it's about a character who goes by Joker the Harlequin. Mm-hmm. And she is a trans woman, and we get sort of, it's like a coming of age. Mm-hmm. So we see her as a kid, this boy named Drew.
Whose name is...
bleeped out.
All but once in a particular scene, because that's their dead name.
Yeah. But we see Drew's upbringing in sort of like a standard conservative household where the parents, we never meet the dad. The dad's always unavailable, but the mother is overbearing. Mm-hmm. She makes her son feel responsible for her happiness. The son tries to express himself a few times, but she is met with alarm and ultimately is sent to a psychiatrist, primarily because at one point, little Drew tells his mom, is it possible that I was born in the wrong body?
And she loses it.
Freaks out. Do you know how that makes me feel? Blah, blah, blah. So thus begins little Drew's journey of
prescription drugs.
Specifically a drug called Smilex, which is like an inhalant that makes you look happy. Mm-hmm. We can get into it more. But we see that it's not until Drew becomes an adult that they decide to move to Gotham City. And this is the Gotham City we all know, where Batman and all the villains occupy. And we also know that comedy is illegal, or only a certain form of comedy is legal. So Drew goes to Gotham City to audition for UCB Live, which is supposed to be a combination of the Upright Citizens Brigade and Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm.
And it stands for United Bureau of Clowns. What does it stand for? UBC?
Oh, I don't recall. I didn't know that they explained what it was.
They did. Oh. It's featured, yeah.
So Drew ends up not liking it there and decides to join forces with the Penguin, and they start their own anti-comedy troupe. And then their troupe includes Bane, Poison Ivy, the Joker. So
Selena Kyle.
So Joker the Harlequin is a combination of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker and Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. But then there's the Joker, who's this trans man who's supposed to be like Jared Leto's Joker.
Who they call Mr. J.
Mr. J. So they're doing that thing, and then Joker the Harlequin and Mr. J fall in love. And it's through that relationship that Joker the Harlequin discovers their trans identity. And I thought that was the most effective part of this story. But it's hard to say where everything culminates because there are kind of two things. One is that all of the members of the anti-comedy troupe are like Batman villains, and they all have a bone to pick with Batman. But not because they're mad that he attacked them as the bad guys, but because in this story, Batman is the villain. He's like a hypocrite. First of all, they're implying Batman's gay and that Batman was grooming a child, and that child was Mr. J. So Mr. J says, my parents kicked me out when I was a kid, and Batman took me as like a little girl and paid for my transition and was grooming me. So that's awkward. So there's like a final showdown with Batman where all the villains basically kill Batman. But then we also culminate in Joker the Harlequin gets cast on UCB Live. She actually is like the host and she bumps Batman. And then we can get more into it, but she does her monologue and kind of goes off the rails. And then the final like 10-15 minutes of the movie is her being transported to the fifth dimension. And then there's this puppet and they're singing songs, basically talking about Joker the Harlequin going through her gender identity journey and like now she's in a better place.
And she's now really in a fairy tale realm, and this character who's kind of amusing but also just batshit crazy allows her wishes, and her final wish is that I just want to have had a happy memory, and she's informed that you already had that on this day in the car with your mom in 1992.
That's right. The end. This movie is crazy as hell. The first hour I was really with it.
It has so many it's like you took a drug or are stuck in a nightmare where none of the textures are blending, and you're trying to kind of constantly adjust, but I think in a really intriguing way.
It's funny because which Batman did I not, or which one did we just review on our Patreon? The Spider-Verse one?
Oh, yeah, okay.
I really didn't like
Marvel.
I really didn't like how that movie looked, which is funny because I feel like this movie has similar textures, but I really liked how this one looked. And I liked the mixture of mediums of like animation, stop motion, and then live action. There's lots of green screen work. I understand the filmmaker and star is like an accomplished TV and film editor.
You can tell how this is edited together.
Yeah, this shit looks really well put together. It was captivating for the entire runtime. The story, I think, was most effective for the first hour.
Yes, it kind of does have a falling off point by the time it begins to mimic a bit more of Todd Phillips' Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. We get a straight up homage to Joker the Harlequin dancing on the stairs, much like Joaquin Phoenix did to Gary Glitter. But there are all kinds of references to all kinds of Batman universes, which I think is also part of the fun. Oh,
even if you're not interested in seeing the story of this trans woman, I think if you're into like Batman and the DC world, I think you would also like this movie, because I'm not into that shit at all, and I picked up on a lot of stuff, which was kind of fun.
It opens with a dedication for Mom and Joel Schumacher.
Oh, because we're told that...
Well, Joel Schumacher's the one that put nipples on Batman.
Well, we're told that because Joker the Harlequin's trying to explain when she's trying to say that there wasn't like a precise moment when I knew I was trans. It was kind of a bunch of things. But she does highlight that when she watched Joel Schumacher's Batman
Forever,
and seeing the nipples, and everyone got all excited about the nipples, and she said, well, when I saw Nicole Kidman in that movie, that's when I knew I wanted to be a woman. I thought that was really cute.
How this film uses DC's property reminded me a lot of another queer filmmaker, Todd Haynes, with his Superstar, the Karen Carpenter story, which was told with Barbie dolls, which I love. But that has a similar kind of sadness and simultaneous subversive quality to it.
You already mentioned this, but I thought the bleeping of the character's dead name, except for the one time and the one time, I thought the most effective part was the relationship between Joker the Harlequin and Mr. J. And then at a point, she says, like, these are the the signs of being in like an emotionally abusive relationship, because Mr. J is very manipulative. But I thought those signs and watching those play out were really well done. And then at a point, Mr. J's trying to be hurtful and calls Joker the Harlequin by her dead name. And that's when we don't hear the beep. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was very effective.
Yes, because also Joker, Mr. J, their first sexual experience, he refers to Joker the Harlequin as girl. And that's the first time she says she felt seen. So for him to, I mean, if you're collapsing those two scenes together, it's like, it's pretty detrimental that he uses the dead name in that moment.
Well, it's very powerful too that she's showing that her, like, sort of, like the exploration of her gender is tied to this relationship, which gives it more meaning than maybe it should. And maybe that's why she feels so, like, it's hard for her to leave Mr. J. Because we do see her try, and then Mr. J plays his games. But again, I think that component of the actual story is the most effective. Because the Batman shit felt really, I was confused until like the hour mark that I assumed Batman was the hero, that like the annoying presence who thinks he's saving the day all the damn time, that he is in the movies. And it's not until the hour mark that we realize that actually, no, Batman's kind of oppressive and probably like a pervert.
Mm-hmm. Well, Vera Drew has a monologue in there about how there are no heroes or villains. It's whatever, because those two things are available in all people, and it's what you show up as in any given scenario.
Yes, that's true. That's what she says. Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, the psychiatrist was garbage. The one who Drew's mom takes him to.
Oh yeah, Dr. Crane or something. Mm-hmm.
But visually it was stunning because the doctor's in like this insane asylum, so it looks scary, and this little boy is being hooked to a machine and being fed this Smilex gas. And the effect of the gas of making them smile, sometimes it's like digitally enhanced, to
give that Joker mouth.
It kind of reminded me of the movie Smile. Mm-hmm. It was creepy. Speaking of creepy, Joker the Harlequin talks about her comedic influences, and she says that her like biggest influence was this comedian named Ra's al Ghul, who has 18 teeth in his mouth.
Yeah, he's missing some important teeth.
And looks like he was plucked off the street. He looks like if Gandhi only ate like processed foods. I don't know.
So he did take me out every time we focus on him, because he seems like he needs medical attention right now.
Yeah, he really did look like he was plucked off the street, that he's kind of unintelligible, which might be due to his dentisha and also his mental status. I don't think...
There was concern in the room.
Yeah, it was. I think it was a little uncomfortable, but
but
this character is integral when Joker the Harlequin gets offered to host UCB Live, because it's this character who's supposed to train her, and the training is going very well until the end, when he tells her, "Oh, Lorne Michaels, who's voiced by Maria Bamford,
the great Maria Bamford, yeah,
says that because we're told that UCB Live is now going to embrace a diversity cast, mm-hmm. but they want to sort of like slowly acclimate the audience to it. So try not to be too, like don't come out there with a dress on, try to tone it down.
I think they say they don't want you in drag. And he's like, well, it's not drag, it's me.
It's me. Mm-hmm. And at first she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. But then we see that this Ra's al Ghul character was kind of like hoping that she would say that. Mm-hmm. So she goes, well, what would you do, or like based on your training, how could you ask me to do this? And then he implies like, I think you should do what you want to do. So she does. And I was a little confused by her monologue, because she kind of goes off the rails, even mm-hmm. though no one's stopping her. Mm-hmm. And it's because everyone's laughing, and she's like, wait, I'm not that funny. And then she realizes that the audience is being pumped with Smilex, mm-hmm. and that's why they're laughing at her jokes. I think The ending I would have preferred is that this entire story build up to Joker the Harlequin going on UCB Live, and the final 30 minutes of the film is her doing the episode. So we see different skits, but then in the end, because I also assumed Joker the Harlequin was kind of like a menace, like the Joker, and that she wanted to get back at all the people and the society that kept her in a cage. So I was hoping that she would have done the full episode and then like blew up the studio. And that would have been the end of the movie.
Much like Phoenix and De Niro and Joker.
That's what I was hoping for. So then when it sort of turned into like this fifth dimension fever dream, it lost my attention. I was a little disappointed.
I do agree that the energy takes a dip in the third act, but not to such detrimental effect that I was tuning out. But it was just a curious direction. But I also think because this is a template that's also a trans coming of age story, I'm assuming that we didn't want to take it to such dark, depraved depths.
But it's already like more than halfway there. So it's interesting that's like, are you holding back? I don't know.
Yeah, I almost kind of wanted like a 90s Gregoraki kind of feel of just being really... Because it's punk to a degree, but I wanted it to feel like it was slapping me in the face more.
And this is definitely not sugarcoating anything. Like, I do think it's going there.
Yeah.
I just wanted it to take it over the top at the end. But this feels like a very personal story, and I related to a lot of things that were said.
Oh, you know what it made me... You haven't seen it yet, but Jane Schoenbrun's new film, I Saw the TV Glow, especially in... the developmental stages of this character and this kind of fascination and escapism into like 90s television. I think once you finally see I Saw the TV Glow, this might be part of the conversation as well. But I think as a young queer or trans youths, like that was a way to escape and to develop your feelings, but in a kind of fantasy realm where you're being a character in your own universe, you know?
At a point, she says, when I look less sad, people ask less questions, which I related to. Again, I thought it was funny that we never see the dad. There's always an excuse why he's not around. Okay, so now that she's moved to Gotham City, her mother comes to visit, and they have sort of like a blow up at like a coffee shop because the mom is basically like attacking her for her poor decisions and not accepting her for who she is. They have a screaming match, and then that's when we see Drew turn into Joker the Harlequin, and we get this montage of her sort of moving around to this song that's the lyrics are acting like a slut, looking like a bitch. I thought that was so amusing.
Yep.
So part of Joker the Harlequin's act, like her refined act, is that she goes on stage and basically brings someone on stage and asks them to tell their saddest story ever. So then you have this person telling a sad story, but then Joker the Harlequin is overdosing on Smilex. So while this person is, pouring their heart out, you have this clown like laughing uncontrollably, which for some reason I found so sadistic and funny.
Amusing. I thought that was amusing, yeah.
There's a reference to RuPaul's Drag Race where she says, RuPaul's fracking race exploded and killed 1,000 people, so it's no longer on the air.
Drag has now had to go underground in this world.
At a point, Joker the Harlequin and Mr. J visit the estrogen factory.
Would it were.
Oh, God. There's a moment where Ra's al Ghul tells a story of the clownfish to Joker the Harlequin. And I don't know if this is true, that the clownfish, like their little group, will be led by a female. And then when the female dies...
When the HBIC dies,
a male fish will take the lead.
The next male in line will change gender.
And then turn into the female. And
I think there are other examples like that in the animal kingdom.
Sure, but I thought that was an interesting story for that character to tell. Because I don't know if that character, Ra's al Ghul, is supposed to represent like a mentor to Because oftentimes queer and trans people will highlight like a person in their early stages who sort of guided them in a way.
Yeah, like a mentor. Well, he was giving me that, what was that Netflix cult documentary series, The Wide Wide Country with Sheila?
Oh, with Sheila. So we see Batman and Lorne Michaels get killed. They're eaten by like poison ivy. And then there's a moment when because there's so many little details and little like interludes and broadcasts. And one of them is some report or someone's talking about, do you want to see Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor having
That's in the fifth dimension.
Oh, it's in the fifth dimension. And we see Marlon Brando and Richard Pryor having sex. This shit was crazy. Mm-hmm. What else would you like to say about it?
I was highly entertained. I remember there was a campaign shortly after this film's premiere. I don't remember if it was on Twitter. It was called Free the People's Joker or something. And I remember being vaguely curious about it. But I have to say I was quite surprised at how much I did really dig how the film felt.
I would definitely recommend it, and I would watch this person's next project.
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm.
What would you give The People's Joker?
3.
I think I would give it 3.5 out of 5. Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.